there guys, this is Obsidian Chill. Got another video for today. And this one I'm originally going to take you back to about 2013, 2014. There's a website called DCUO Live that a US villain named Soar created. He was in One Piece. And it had the unique ability, as you see here in the picture, to search the census and actually break it down in terms of like power sets, factions, servers, skill points, level, PV, like combat ratings. You know, it was a very powerful tool for players like me or anyone curious or testers, anything like that. The website was shut down just because he stopped playing, didn't upkeep the domain, and it dropped. And there wasn't another website that duplicated it until now. So a few things you'll see from the screenshot, just compare this to the new one, which I'll go to in a moment. You'll see the 21 million so characters. On the power sets, you'll see that there was no munitions, water, or atomic. It was well before that time. So let's jump into the new website that you'll see very soon that has been a work in progress. So let's take you there and look at some numbers here. So here we have the new website, which you'll have access to very soon. And basically the same thing, character count we can break down. So the main thing you can just take a look is that from that screenshot, which was, I can't remember the exact year I took that, it didn't say those details, but it was probably like 2013, 2014. So we have technically had, you know, another 25 or million so characters created, but that doesn't always necessarily mean anything. So the nice thing about this search, and we'll get into kind of some numbers and graphs in the Excel doc that I have, but I want to kind of just break down what this was and the features. So for example, the nice searches we can do, say we wanted to know every player that's, say, greater than level 30 or equal to level 30, because we can't be higher than that. Which, you know, the purpose of the video is to kind of break down and show some population numbers. I'm not going to say either way if the game's dead, active. You know, this isn't here to make this determination. This is actually to show you actual numbers, which we haven't had access before. So say if we search here, equal to level 30, this is going to be all platforms, hero and villain. We get 4,008,551 characters. So already, only 9% of the total characters that actually show are actually active. And these numbers will fluctuate every time it refresh, because this census accounts for every single platform. Every single time someone makes a new character or does something like that, it's going to update it. So these are always going to fluctuate. So that's why when you see this, it's going to change. But it still gives the, not 100% proof, but it still gives exactly an idea of what to look for. So we've got 4 million characters at level 30. So now let's change this. So now look at combat rating. So for example, the last CR skip we had in January was 333. So that means, I mean, technically I would have to do 332 to account for that. So we'll just change this to 332 just so it's greater than. So if we search here across all platforms, it's going to give us, so we dropped from 4 million to 241,160. So just look at how quickly that drops. And I'm not saying, I'm sure there's, you know, obviously there's tons of players below 333 that are still leveling or stuff like that. But it kind of, this is to give the idea of how popular the game is in terms of active participation of players. You know, this is also going to count for tons of alts. I'm not saying there's 241 active players. There's 241,000 active characters that have had the CR skip to either try a new tune or anything like that. So it kind of gives, and we change that as well. We can do CR 377. CR 378 was higher, was the maximum CR for the previous episode, which was almost a year ago, about 11 months or so. So if we update it from here, same thing. This is more showing active players. So we jumped from 241,000 to 58,489 characters. Not necessarily, you know, this isn't players, this is characters. So we're seeing each time we kind of progress to closer to endgame or what players would be active, we're dropping drastically numbers each time. And then say, for example, now we're at 396, which is the max CR for this episode. And there's been plenty of like double weeks, 3 times a week, or not multiple 3 times a week, but we have had one. So if we're looking at 396 max CR, out of that 58,000, it's going to bring us down to 6,737. So we dropped from 58K to 6K in terms of how many players are active at CR. And this is across all platforms. So for example, say if I wanted to see how many players were Xbox at 396, I could change that. And there's 551 characters max CR on Xbox. And if we say, what's the Switch like? We can switch to Switch, and there's 56 Switch characters. And we can also search skill points as well. So say, for example, I want to know how many people are above, 700, like we can do, even do 750. The max CR or max skill points is 799. So 750 is still like almost 50 skill points off max, which is still not that many skill points when you think of it, compared to like being 799 versus 750, but it still gives you an idea. Sorry, that's going to have to be greater then. So we have 980 characters. So less than 1,000 characters have 750 skill points or more. And if we do 799, we have 34 characters total at 799. So it's a really nice search. It's going to be a very handy tool going forward. So now let's jump in and actually look at some closer breakdown of these numbers here. Okay, so now taking a look at a closer breakdown of those numbers. So in terms of, I separated the platforms, so people at max CR, we've got about 4,500 on US, 1,600 on EU, Switch has 56 as you saw, EU Switch has 9, and Xbox had 551 like you saw. Villains 1,473, Heroes 5,260. So the ones that are max CR but less than 300 skill points, about 281, 99, 11, 2, and 75. And then more than 700 skill points, we ended up with 1,000. So that means there's 3,500 players that are max CR that don't have 700 skill points, which doesn't tie into activity or the game being dead or not. It's just more that could be indicative of players that either focused on CR or veterans that have been playing for a long time that have kind of naturally accumulated that many skill points. EU 425, and then US and EU Switch have 2, and Xbox had 54. So the numbers breaking down in terms of the CR skip, which I said before is 333, 156,000 on US, Xbox had 37K, EU had 39K, almost 7K on Switch, and EU Switch had 1,100. And then CR 378 and above, as you said, you're dropping down. So going from the CR skip to max CR of last episode, so basically players that were active or want to max their characters in the past years per se, we got 40,000, 11,869, 121, and just over 6,500. So now taking a look at more like a broader number approach. So total characters above CR 333 was 241,163. So that gives an idea of how many active characters there are. Not players, because obviously that includes all kind of alts. But there's 241,000 active characters, at least with the CR skip, out of the 47,062,924 that are totally available. And then total characters above CR or at 396 was 6K, so 6,700. Total, in terms of like a heroes versus villains, total characters. So I did, these numbers are also on these graphs here on the right if you're seeing that as well. So total character breakdown. So this is, the blue is how many total characters in the entire game. Orange is how many characters are level 30 or less. So out of the total characters, 47 million, only 4 million are actually above or at level 30. So that means like either players leveling or left the game during leveling, or just characters sitting on a dropship saving name, or characters never made it out of the vault, is 46,284,000 out of the 47 million. So that again gives an idea of how much the actual population in the game would be. So yeah, there's 47 million players that have made accounts on DC, but only 4 million of them bothered to level 1 through 30. And we all know that the game DC Universe Online doesn't even begin until after level 30. 1 through 30 is like some kind, like, think of it like an intro mission. That's really all it is. I mean, that's why I always take issue with like streamers, or not streamers, but like, other YouTubers that want to say, oh, here's what DC Universe is on like, and they only level like, it shows them clips leveling like level 15, level 20, or reach level 30. The game, I wouldn't even call level 1 through 30 a game. It's really just an intermission, exploring open world. You meet the characters, stuff like that, but you're not learning your loadout. You're not learning it. Well, now I guess artifacts and allies are incorporated, but same thing. You're not actually truly playing the game until people say end game, but you can't say end game when the game's been out for 10 years and there's like 40 episodes. So breaking down the CR character breakdown. So total characters, CR 3.3 above, was 97% of them are above 3.3, and only 3%. So 3% of the active characters above these two. So 3% of the 241,000 characters are max CR. And then I threw in like hero versus villain. So at level 30. So this is still a lot. So total villains level 30 accounts for 32%, and heroes are 68%, which we can kind of gather being heroes so popular, but it kind of gives a breakdown as well, because that doesn't include any kind of end game as well. It's just total population, total characters at level 30. So the ones that actually been bothered to finish the story, 32% of them are villains. So when this website releases, which should be next week, and obviously I'll have a video on that as well, you'll be able to kind of explore these results yourselves and kind of either do these kind of searches or kind of know exactly how popular and how active DCUO Online truly is. So tomorrow's video is going to be of a similar nature, but I'm going to be covering the most popular power sets across all platforms, looking at endgame, looking at total characters, and you'll be able to see kind of that power set breakdown. So take care, guys. We'll see you in the next video.